Today in the episode, peace initiative in the Alps. Trump declares intent to end Russia's war during Davos speech. The price of peace. Ukraine and partners push for a diplomatic solution amidst Russia's refusal to negotiate. Economic instability in Moscow. Sharp inflation acceleration signals deepening crisis. Trump has met with Zelenskyy in Davos. The president of Ukraine has arrived to Switzerland this morning. The president of the U.S. confirmed the meeting the day before, during his speech at the World Economic Forum. Trump then declared his desire to end Russia's war against Ukraine.
And that's what I want to stop. It doesn't help the United States, but these are souls. These are young people. And I'm dealing with President Putin, and he wants to make a deal, I believe. I'm dealing with President Zelenskyy.
The United States and Ukraine have reached a working-level agreement on an $800 billion prosperity plan. This was announced by Taras Kachka, Ukraine's Deputy Prime Minister for European Integration. The document was discussed at the Ukraine House in Davos and is aimed at economic development as well as fortifying Ukraine's post-war security. The agreement outlines several areas of joint cooperation between Ukraine, the European Union, and the United States. However, this is currently a working document rather than a final draft. The Deputy Prime Minister refrained from making specific forecasts regarding the timeline for signing the agreement. At the same time, he noted that it would depend on further progress regarding security issues. Nevertheless, Kachka expressed hope that the process would not be delayed and that agreements would be reached within a short time frame. According to him, the document could be signed on any given day. In early January, Vladimir Putin unofficially received a draft peace plan agreed upon by Ukraine and its European partners, Bloomberg reports. The agency's sources stated that the documents were delivered via the dictator's aide, Kirill Dmitriev. Receiving them allowed Putin to prepare comments and proposals for upcoming negotiations involving President Trump's special envoys, Steve Witkoff and Jared Kushner. The Kremlin views the receipt of the draft peace plan as a significant step forward. At the same time, many issues of interest to Russia were either missing or formulated in a way that Moscow found unsatisfactory. And Steve Witkoff told American media that he will meet with Putin. The U.S. President's special envoy clarified that it was the Russians who requested the meeting. Witkoff stated that Putin is allegedly interested in signing a peace agreement with Ukraine. He added that significant progress has been made in the negotiations, but the issue of territories remains a stumbling block. Before this, U.S. Special Representative Steve Witkoff met with Putin's envoy, Kirill Dmitriev, in Davos. The meeting reportedly lasted over 2 hours and included Jared Kushner. The so-called U.S. plan for ending the war was discussed. Witkoff, according to propaganda media, called the talks with Putin's envoy positive. Dmitriev himself stated that the meeting was constructive. NATO Secretary General Mark Rutte has stated that in December, Russia lost approximately 1,000 soldiers per day, or 30 per month, in the war against Ukraine. Crucially, Rutte specified that this figure refers specifically to those killed in action, rather than the total number of wounded. The Secretary General added that despite these staggering losses, the Russian Federation continues to intensify its attacks and offensive operations across the front line. This assessment was echoed by other world leaders at the World Economic Forum in Davos, where officials noted Moscow's persistent push regardless of the human cost. More in the next story for you.
All the Kremlin's talks about peace are mere fiction, experts believe. Putin has no intention of abandoning the goals of the so-called special military operation and will continue to terrorize Ukraine. This is evidenced primarily by massive shelling of Ukrainian cities. NATO Secretary General Mark Rutte called on allies to provide Kyiv with additional air defense assets as soon as possible. Ukraine must remain the top priority for European leaders and partners. Despite other international crises, the alliance chief emphasized,
Putin's war machine is churning out military equipment around the clock. And Moscow is testing us through airspace incursions, cyber attacks, sabotage, and more. And it is not just Russia. China, Iran, and North Korea fuel Moscow's war against Ukraine. These countries are preparing for long-term confrontation with us. At the same time, the threat from terrorism persists and instability remains rampant in NATO's southern neighborhood. So the dangers we face are clear, real, and lasting. and we must remain prepared.
Russia is not ready for peace talks and will not abandon its imperial ambitions, even in the event of signing a peace agreement, believes Lithuanian President Gitanas Nausėda. While Ukraine and its partners are pursuing diplomacy and working on a peace plan, Russia speaks the language of missiles. Nausėda is convinced it is too early to draw conclusions about Moscow's readiness to accept the peace plan and begin real negotiations.
I think they want to buy more time to attack Ukraine and first of all to attack the critical infrastructure of Ukraine, making the life of ordinary people impossible, even in capital, in Kiev. And then maybe at the later stage they will sit down and they will talk about the peace. But I think some issues of this 20 points peace plan, or some elements of them, are not acceptable for Russians.
The European Union will continue to support Ukraine until a stable peace is achieved, assured European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen. According to her, it is especially important now to maintain focus on Ukraine. After all, Europe's security depends on this.
Peace talks are now ongoing, and we are recognizing the efforts the US is doing in this region. But while these efforts intensify, so does Russia's attacks. So Europe will continue to support Ukraine in every way. And this is why it was so important that in the last European Council, we agreed to jointly raise 90 billion euros for Ukraine. Europe has taken clear responsibility for Ukraine's need, both civilian and military. And this 90 billion euros shows our unfaltering commitment and solidarity, and we will stand with Ukraine until there is a just and lasting peace.
It is too early to say that Russia's war against Ukraine will end soon, believes head of the office of the President Kirilo Budanov. He stated, "We need a just peace, security guarantees, and a reconstruction plan," and added, "The negotiation process is moving forward, and Kiev is making every effort to achieve results." Reported by Victoria Chistukina, UATV News.
Putin are preparing to fight for ages. Russian schools are set to begin training pupils in drone assembly and piloting as part of a subject, Fundamentals of Security and Defense of the Motherland. According to government documents, the program aims to teach students block-based programming and hands-on piloting using remote controls and smartphones. Beyond unmanned aerial vehicles, classrooms will be outfitted with an expanded array of military and field gear. The mandatory equipment list includes mock-ups of Kalashnikov assault rifles and Makarov pistols alongside F-1 training grenades. Evacuations are currently underway in the Russian city of Belgorod, following yet another accidental release of an aerial bomb by a Russian Aerospace Forces aircraft. This latest incident highlights a persistent and dangerous pattern of technical failures within the Russian military. Video regarding these malfunctions shows a staggering frequency of so-called accidental releases. In 2025, 143 Russian aerial bombs fell on the territory of the Russian Federation. This follows 165 bombs recorded in 2024. Total combat losses for the Russian army in Ukraine have now surpassed 1,230,000 personnel. According to the General Staff of the Armed Forces of Ukraine, another 1,070 Russian occupiers were eliminated over the past 24 hours. The Kremlin's hardware losses continue to mount as well. In the latest reporting period, Ukrainian forces destroyed 9 tanks, 5 armored vehicles, and 53 artillery systems. Additionally, 2 multiple launch rocket systems were taken out, along with more than 170 units of automotive and special equipment. The Russian economy has begun 2026 with a noticeable acceleration in inflation, according to a report of the Foreign Intelligence Service of Ukraine. Data indicates that the most drastic price hikes are hitting the food sector, specifically produce. Fruit and vegetable prices in average have risen by nearly 8%. Cucumbers spiked up by over 21%, and tomatoes up by more than 13%. Simultaneously, prices for baby food, pork, and alcohol are rising, fueled in part by increased excise taxes. According to Ukraine's Foreign Intelligence Service, these combined trends point to a deepening of Russia's economic struggles in 2026. That's all for today's News Digest. Stay informed, stay critical, like the video, subscribe, and share your thoughts in the comments.